Yeah, so I'm Imtiaz. I'm a co-founder of Faith to Faithless with Alia Salim, who couldn't make it today, unfortunately. Um, and what Faith to Faithless tries to do is, create platforms. So none of us are like famous or even actually none. I think no one here except for me has spoken before, right? Am I right? Yeah. No one really has spoken. So we're all shitting ourselves. Um, and what we try to do is create like spaces for people to speak, and this is particularly important at universities where you get all these politics, and that's cool. That's what universities are about. But unfortunately, when you're kind of stemming and stifling discussion, especially for something as sensitive as apostasy, no matter who you're speaking to, whether you're talking about ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, ex-Christians, ex-Muslims, whatever, it's always complicated. It's always, there's always a lot of pressure to stop us speaking. So I'm very, very thankful to the society here, the Freedom Speech and Secular Society, for hosting this. I'm not going to talk a lot. This is not about me. This is about the speakers. But I want to tell you a little bit about why this is important and why we do this. Leaving religion is becoming more of something that people hear, and it's not because it's in the news. It's actually because it's happening in families, right? So everyone knows that one uncle. If you're religious, you know that one uncle who left and disappeared, and no one talks to them anymore. Blah blah blah. The parents don't tell you why. But what's happening, the problem is that gets brushed under the carpet often. And it's really important we do have these spaces for people from conservative backgrounds to come out and say, hey, this is my story, this is what happened with me. But what I want to do, and this is for this audience and also on YouTube and things like that, is give a bit of an idea of what it's like to leave religion for a lot of people. So with Faith to Faithless, we started off very much ex-Muslim. You might have seen some of this stuff on the BBC or Guardian or whatever. And what we realized very quickly is it's not an ex-Muslim problem. Like, this is a problem across a lot of conservative faiths. And, you talk about religions. You have big religions like Christianity where you've got pockets which are very conservative. Same thing with Islam. You've got some people who are quite liberal, they're chill, and some people are not. And then you get Jehovah's Witnesses where, unfortunately, there's bigger problems, I guess, because you operate a little bit more like a cult. I don't know why, but who knows? And then, ideas like shunning, things like that, disfellowshipping and things like that. Mormons do similar things. So I think of it a little bit like divorcing, right? So if you're having a divorce, you might have been in an arranged marriage, so you may have that's all you knew. You didn't have much say in it, right? That's what you did. You married this guy. It might have been a loving relationship. So, you married this guy because you love him, and slowly that fades away and it doesn't make sense anymore. Or you married him and you never really loved him. You did it for whatever reason. But then over time you fell in love with this person. Or maybe you loved them and you felt betrayed by them when you figured something about them, right? So it's a lot like divorce, and no matter what, that person that you married and you divorced was a big part of your life. Very big part of your life. And so when you leave that person, you might be angry. You might feel like everything's gone, everything's just disappearing. You might feel like everything you knew was a lie. You might feel hurt. You might feel okay. You might be like, you know what? I don't want to think about him anymore. Fuck him. Like the whole, like, sitting with your friends, basically, saying this person was a bad person, right? There's many ways we have to deal with divorce. And similarly, with leaving religion, I think it's a little bit like divorce, where people often say, oh, why are you so angry about your ex-religions? Well, think about it. That was all we knew, right? You get born into it, you loved it, whatever. That's all you knew. And so a way of dealing with that is to feel hurt and to feel like you need to express yourself. And when you can't express yourself, imagine what happens. That's when people get really angry. That's when people become bitter. And one of the things that Faith to Faithless tries to do is, by giving us these platforms, actually it helps take some of the steam off, right? Because you're less angry. So there's three things I want to say. One is the metaphor with divorce. The second thing I want to say is, if there are people in this audience that are religious, like I think, am I right to say that most of us were religious? You weren't hugely religious, I think. A little bit. You were never religious back in the days. Yeah, not that religious. Yeah, but in my case, I was. I don't know about yourself. A little bit religious. Yeah, quite religious. And Nurhan, definitely. So I'm trying to reach out to the religious people here and also online, which is, you need to step up, because there's a problem here. It's a really big problem that there is discrimination that goes on from religious communities. And the reason I'm speaking out to religious people is because I was religious. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to have that thinking that, man, that my brother just left Islam, or my brother just became an atheist. How do I deal with this? And often the ways we deal with it is by shutting people off, or, by saying, you're crazy. Like, there's a lot of stuff about possession, like you must have been possessed by the devil or something like that. And then that's why you get things like exorcisms in some Nigerian Christian churches, which I'm sure. Yeah. And we have ruqya for Muslims, where it's another form of exorcism. And this is tribalism. It's a form of tribalism where you have an other and you have yourself. And we need to get past that, man, because there's so many kids who are out in the streets. People are dying, basically. People are dying. They're out in the streets. It's not even as extreme as that. Sometimes it's just as simple as, people being disconnected from their families. Now, imagine the people that you love, and imagine telling them something like you're gay, or telling them that, let's say you converted into a religion and they're not happy with that religion. How would that feel? It wouldn't be easy. That's what it's like for a lot of us. And so we need religious people to step up. And so when they do have a brother, when your partner, whatever, has said, hey, look, I want to tell you something. I don't believe in this religion anymore. Instead of, pushing them away or trying to tell them what's wrong with them, listen for 5 seconds. It really helps. Listening is so important in this conversation. And you can do something. You can really make a difference, because you will come across someone in your community that's left, and you can be that person that steps up and says, no, Mum, I know that my sister left, but we should still love them, because the world needs a lot more love, I think, now than the kind of, we have enough hate in the world. We need to kind of start to bond better, even if you don't agree with someone. I think the final thing I want to say is, and I get this is more for me, because when I was leaving religion, I really didn't have anyone, I thought I was the only person in the whole world who had left Islam, and which was stupid, but hey-ho. And this is kind of reaching out to those kids, which is, if you're out there and you've got something to say and you feel frustrated that you can't get it out, right? You don't have to be public about it. You can be anonymous, whatever. But we need lots of people to just come out and, if you can sing a song, do a cover of Beyonce, but instead talk about religion. I don't know. There's so much ways you can express yourself, but we need that. We really need these kind of different pockets of things. Don't join Faith to Faithless. That's not what we care about. We care about more things happening, including us, so that there's this framework and a fabric, right? That's what we need. We need an institutional fabric. So yeah, finally, thanks for you guys for having us. It's often difficult with university societies, as you can imagine. Alia has had some trouble with feminist societies, where, you've got 5 women, some of them have been attacked in other countries, and they're trying to speak, and she's been shut down, and I've had some similar stuff. But I think this atmosphere is changing, because people are realizing you can't do that at a university, which is supposed to be about exchanging ideas. So I want to shut my gob from there, and I'm going to start passing it on to the first speaker. So she was one of the first ex-Jehovah's Witness people that I've actually had a proper correspondence with in the UK. Because I knew a couple in the US, and they're completely insane, but they're great. When I first spoke to her, we were sharing stories, and I was like, oh my God, she's like a female ex-Jehovah's Witness version of me, because I did a lot of work with ex-Muslim communities. She's done a lot of work with ex-Jehovah's Witness communities. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Terry Sullivan. If you can put your hands together for Terry. Thank you. Let me just give you this. You're going to have to wait 5 seconds. We're going to mic her up.
Okay.
There you go. The budget for apostates isn't very high, so we have one mic.